Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Vault Games. We are playing live over the internet every Wednesday and Friday, and we've got some spicy decks here. Painter Servant versus Hogaak. Both decks capable of comboing out very quickly with really bizarre combos. Hogaak's going to look to mill you out with Altar of Dementia potentially, or worst case, just beat you down with Vengevines and the 8/8. Whereas Painter Servant, less of a beatdown role. Scarecrow, a 1/3, not super good at getting aggressive. We'll see if Ben has anything else in there that can potentially apply some pressure, but probably not going to win on that axis. Is going to need to combo off. And that could happen as soon as this turn, as we've got a second Scarecrow, Painter Servant, with a buddy. The 1/3 is going to hold off Gravecrawler, at least. He is a 2/1. Oh, almost. Okay. Caleb almost throwing him into the bin. We've got a Gravecrawler, and now Lotus Petal being sacked for Enlightened Tutor, and if Ben has any more mana, that is going to do it. I doubt Caleb has any type of shuffle effect that could be triggered. For example, a World Spine Worm would actually turn this from a win into a loss for Ben by milling all of Caleb's deck, because you'd be able to draw the World Spine for turn and then do your thing, casting Gravecrawlers from the graveyard, however you want to actually get the whole thing together. But that is not usually going to be the case. There are some decks out there that you have to be concerned about when you're playing Painter, so Eureka Tell, for example, or Sneak and Show, anything that runs Emrakul, it becomes a 3-card combo, which can be a big issue. Like, you really do have to find that third piece, being the Tormod script, to remove the graveyard with the shuffle trigger on the stack. Otherwise, you're just going to find yourself basically taking their library, putting it into the graveyard, and then shuffling the graveyard back into their library repeatedly. That's not going to do anything. Definitely played against Painter Servant a bit back when Cloudpost was able to run Brainstorm, which was a very fun deck. I mean, I'm sorry, Sensei's Top. It still can run Brainstorm. It was able to run Sensei's Divining Top, which was very, very strong. You're able to use Trinket Mage to either grab a Sensei's Top or a Candelabra, as well as a small package of utility cards from your sideboard. And that was definitely a casualty of Sensei's Top leaving the format. I know it was primarily because of Miracles and the amount of synergy with Counterbalance, and also the amount of time that it would take off of the clock in tournaments. But that was a point in time where Painter Servant was much more common. And to be fair, it was actually quite good in Painter as well. Sensei's Top, a card that you can use Goblin Welder to exchange for anything in your graveyard. I've told the story on the channel before about using Goblin Welder with Sensei's Divining Top, or using Sensei's Top to get rid of garbage cards off the top of your deck by milling yourself with your Grindstone. I'm going to go ahead and skip past the shuffling here. I should have paused it before I jumped around like that. Sorry for that jarring time lapses. We've got a Marsh Flats leading out into a Faithless Looting, probably grabbing a Badlands, and kind of a slower start. So Painter up a game here. Faithless Looting deemed too good for Modern, but just another good Magic card in Legacy. So many great options. Legacy really feels like Magic in its purest form right now in some ways. Historically, I've felt that was Vintage, but Legacy is really seeing an incredible variety of decks that you can play. So many powerful strategies. And here we see, cards like Stitcher Supplier. Like, look at this. This is fantastic. We're going to have Vengevine coming back from the graveyard along with an 8/8 in the form of Hogaak. So convoking this guy out and going to set up potentially lethal here. If this Ancient Tomb is tapped, 14 damage. He would be at 16 here. Hasn't tapped the Ancient Tomb yet, right? So taken 4. If he taps this Ancient Tomb, it needs to be to win or to at least not die. He doesn't have a whole lot of options here. He's going to have to make a play. Simian Spirit Guide. We see a Recruiter, perhaps? Imperial Recruiter. City of Traders. Yeah. All right. So we're going to be able to see a Painter Servant coming down. And Imperial Recruiter getting ready to chump block this Vengevine and give Ben the time that he needs to potentially grind out Caleb in 2 quick games. If he's got the Painter Servant, if he has the Grindstone in hand, this is very dangerous. You are not going to want to block one of the 1/1s. Soak up the 4 damage of that Vengevine with your Imperial Recruiter. That gets rid of the bridge. And now you just really don't want Cabal Therapy getting into that graveyard and getting rid of this Grindstone if he has it in hand. No, he's tapping the top of the deck, which means he does not have it. If he drew it for turn, I can't imagine it wouldn't be down already. And that is it. So Caleb picking up that game. Ben giving himself every chance to win there. Though that would be slightly awkward with that mana base. Ideally, you want to play around the Force of Vigor when you can. In that case, he only had 2 soul lands. Force of Vigor, a very interesting card in this matchup in that it can blow out your combo entirely, but the timing on it's a little restrictive because you can respond to the Force of Vigor. You can actually play this little game of chicken where if you have the combo on board, if they use the Force of Vigor, you respond by killing them, and if they don't use it, then you go to their upkeep, and then Force of Vigor has to be full retail, which Hogaak is going to have a tough time getting to 4 mana versus a deck like Painter. The speed of Painter, obviously, if you haven't had 4 turns, you're not going to have 4 lands in the deck. But just in general, it's not like they want to get to 4 mana. They're usually hoping for stronger cards than just a bunch of lands. They, in fact, can do quite a lot off of even just a single land. And we've got Ancient Tomb into Smuggler's Copter and a Lotus Petal. We'll see what could potentially crew this. Imperial Recruiter could be a strong one. And Stitcher Supplier is going to mill a Gravecrawler and a couple of altars. The altars aren't ideal, but Gravecrawler, a nice find in there. And the quantity of cards, often more important than the quality in the graveyard for this deck. Just being enough to convoke out a Hogaak is enough versus so many decks. And if Ben is on the plan of trying to draw into the combo with a Smuggler's Copter, you really do want to put some pressure. We've got a Goblin Welder. That's going to allow the crewing of the Smuggler's Copter. Draw and discard a Painter Servant. So Ben could be in very good shape here. If he has a Grindstone in hand, he actually will be able to cast the Grindstone and then respond to the activation by welding out for the Painter's Servant. Then when the ability resolves, it'll actually be that one-hit KO that you're looking for, as long as that Painter Servant is still in play when the ability resolves. So if Caleb has a Assassin's Trophy or an Abrupt Decay, that would be an issue. Goblin Welder, a real difficult card to contend with. Really creates some complicated game states, can respond to removal. Ooh, and a end step Enlightened Tutor for Grindstone. If Ben has another mana, this could be it. Just be going to Caleb's upkeep and firing this off. There's the Grindstone. Oh, he's going to go for it. This does play around Assassin's Trophy and Abrupt Decay, but opens you up to Force of Vigor. And it looks like the... Oh, and he's got it. Oh. Oh, man. That is brutal. That is so brutal. Goblin Welder's just going to be sitting here watching in horror as these zombies amass on the other side of the board and end up delivering lethal here. If it's not lethal now, it'll be lethal next turn. Ugh. That is brutal. I gotta see Caleb's hand. I don't know. I mean, I feel like you gotta play around the Force of Vigor there, but you know, the difference being if they do have an Assassin's Trophy or an Abrupt Decay, it's not just game over on the spot. Oh, that is a heartbreaking loss there for Ben. He had everything. Caleb had the answer, but it could have potentially been played around. That is Caleb. If you remember what was in your hand at the end of the game, let us know in the comments. But that was a tough one. That is all for this one. But don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.